On July 24, 2009, an Ilyushin Il-62 aircraft operated by Iran's Aria Air was conducting a flight from Mashhad to Mashhad. On board were 173 people. During the landing approach, the crew encountered issues calculating speed and configuring the approach pattern. The aircraft aligned with the runway, but due to another aircraft ahead, air traffic control instructed the crew to reduce speed. The crew decided to perform a left holding pattern, which was approved by the controller. The landing approach was carried out on a steep trajectory, above the glide path, and at an excessive speed of approximately 325 km per hour instead of the calculated 275 km per hour. During the approach, the flight navigator began running through the mandatory landing checklist without the captain's command, contrary to standard procedures. The GPWS issued multiple warnings about proximity to the ground, but no corrective actions were taken. The aircraft crossed the runway threshold at a significant height and speed, touching down with a long overrun of 1 kilometer from the start of the runway. Upon landing, the crew's actions were uncoordinated and deviated from the aircraft's operational instructions. The flight engineer independently activated reverse thrust on the engines and, without command, shut down the inner engines. During the rollout, the speed began to increase due to two engines reverser doors being positioned for forward thrust. The flight navigator repeatedly informed the crew about the rising speed, but no corrective measures were implemented. The spoilers were not deployed after touchdown. The aircraft overran the runway at a speed of about 200 km per hour, damaging airport infrastructure. It then collided with a brick wall and a power line before coming to a stop on a paved road. The aircraft's forward fuselage was completely destroyed. While no fire occurred, 16 people, including 11 crew members, lost their lives, and 3 others sustained serious injuries. Causes of the crash. The investigation identified the following causes of the crash. The crew was unfamiliar with operating conditions in Iran and had not received training from an Iranian instructor. The airline's management failed to address this issue. The approach was conducted at a speed exceeding the recommended values and inconsistent with the aircraft's actual landing weight. Crew coordination was inadequate. The navigator, flight engineer, and first officer performed actions without consulting the captain. The crew ignored GPWS warnings and failed to initiate a go-around despite the aircraft being in a non-landing configuration. The reverse thrust system was improperly used, and the spoilers were not deployed, resulting in the runway overrun. The presence of the airline's managing director in the cockpit created psychological pressure on the crew, negatively affecting their performance. The crew's limited English proficiency hindered effective communication with air traffic control. The primary cause of the crash was poor crew resource management, which led to uncoordinated actions, procedural violations, and errors during landing. Despite the aircraft's technical soundness, crew errors were the key factor in the tragedy. Conclusion. The crash of Aria Air Flight 1525 on July 24, 2009, serves as a tragic reminder of the importance of following standard procedures and maintaining effective coordination among crew members. Despite the aircraft being technically operational, errors during the approach and landing phases resulted in loss of life. This incident demonstrated that even minor deviations from prescribed instructions can be fatal, especially under challenging circumstances. The investigation highlighted the impact of human factors, including the crew's insufficient preparation for specific operating conditions, lack of mutual oversight, and procedural violations. The managing director's presence in the cockpit added psychological pressure on the crew, underscoring the need for strict adherence to professional boundaries. This crash served as a critical lesson for the aviation industry, emphasizing the importance of implementing crew resource management (CRM) systems, conducting regular training, and strictly following operational protocols. Any deviation from procedures, whether due to insufficient training or stress, can have catastrophic consequences. This case reaffirmed the need for discipline and professionalism in aviation. In memory of the victims, this tragedy should remind all aviation professionals that flight safety begins with thorough preparation, strict adherence to procedures, and effective coordination at all levels. The Aria Air Flight 1525 disaster was another pivotal event that pushed the industry toward improving safety standards and practices. Only by learning from past mistakes can a safer future for aviation be built.